try and get in another wattle before my phone battery completely dies. This is Acacia linifolia. Again, I'm in Burnham Reserve, Janelli. Hawkesbury sandstone. There's a little bit of lateritic, maybe a little bit of clay interbedding in the soil here, but it's a Hawkesbury sandstone reserve, plenty of outcrop around. This guy can also grow on shale, and you will find it in forests, say like Sydney turpentine ironbark and shale sandstone transition, maybe blue gum high forest as well. It's a very common wattle. The thing about it is it's a real Sydney wattle. It's only found in the Greater Sydney area. Yes, we're sort of talking north from Wollongong Hilltop area, through the Sydney Basin, west to about maybe Lithgow, Katoomba, and it does get up there into that area called Glen Davis. There are some records scattered up into the Hunter Valley around Scone, I think about as far as there. I didn't see it much further than that on the records. And then, you know, just back around to the east and back down to Sydney. So it's a Greater Sydney Basin wattle, New South Wales only. Linifolia, it's, as the name suggests, it relates to the genus Linum. Some people will argue it means sort of linear foliage, but it relates to genus Linum, which is flax. And the leaves resemble sort of flax or the Linum genus. So that's where linifolia comes from. The leaves, I think, are reported as up to 5 centimetres long and only about 2 or 3 mil wide. So 5 centimetres long, maybe up to 7 centimetres in some cases. In Sydney, you tend to see them 3 or 4 centimetres, and to about 2 to 3 mil wide, something like that. So normally not much wider than that. I'd say most of the time I look at the leaves, they're like about maybe 1 to 2 mil. And I don't normally see any fatter leaf forms, not a lot of the time. As you go down the main stems, the leaves persist. You can see them coming off the main stem there. So the leaves persist just up and down the stem. It's known for, I always see it with the leaves sort of coming off the main stems. Maybe not right down the bottom, but even down here at the bottom. So I've got a lot of heart and verdure in the way. You got leaves coming off the main stem down the bottom there. It's not prickly. It's really nice to touch. The phyllodes are a mid-green colour. They're very flexible. They're very soft. It's a very soft wattle to get your hands on. I think there's a mucro at the top of the phyllodes. These might be very hard to zoom in on. And I am bloody worried that my phone battery is about to die. We'll see how we go. There is a mucro at the top. Don't know if, again, the light here, I'll get into a bit of sun. There's the mucro. There is an inconspicuous gland down the bottom. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick it up, but there is one gland 5 to 15 mil above the pulvinus, just there at the bottom of the leaf again. So it could be anywhere within 5 to 15 mil. I won't try and pick it up, but there's a gland down there somewhere. Nice mucro at the top. You could try looking at the mid vein, I suppose, but they're so narrow that it might be a bit hard to pick up. We get another sort of dainty flower. I keep using that term, sort of dainty flowers. You get these sort of terminally clustered sprays of flowers. You do get them at most times of the year. And I think there's about 5 to 17 heads on any individual axes or any individual cluster. So all of these are separate clusters, and they're just all sort of jumbled together to sort of make it look like one sort of raceme maybe, or even one panicle, I would think. But there's one unit. There's one unit that I've pulled off. You can see about 10 heads maybe in that spray, and I'm not saying it was quite intact. I'm just going to have a look again at this one here. Yeah, there's just these uneven length individual units coming off, and I think they're up to 17 heads in each unit. They're a nice pale yellow or cream. I I link sort of cream to linifolia, maybe to slightly lemon yellow in some cases, but they've got a nice cream colour overall. You can see the individual flowers forming there, just in that part there. So they're saying up to 12 flowers in a globular head and up to 17 heads on an axis to 5 centimetres long. So you can see they're not extending out beyond the leaves all that much. 5 centimetres long, 17 heads, up to 17 heads, and then you're going to have 6 to 12 flowers per head, which you can sort of see as an example. This one here sort of budding up, yeah. They might have about, 6 to 7 flowers on it there. So nice cream colour most of the time. Not really golden yellow or deep yellow. I've never seen real golden yellow forms. They're always sort of nice and pale, cream. They flower most times of the year, I think, when I see them. They tend to be flowering a lot of the time. I think the main flowering time is, autumn, winter. Autumn, winter, but I see them flowering a lot. We do have pods developing, which is great. We've got pods developing here. They're very green. They're up to 12 centimetres long by about 15 mil wide. So 12 centimetres by 1.5 centimetres. That's the pods there. Just amazing again how those flowers transition into these pods. Quite remarkable. Unlike the Suaviolans, I just made that video. They're longitudinally arranged, so the seeds are now longitudinal, and they're the constrictions between the seeds, the pod constrictions. So it looks like we're getting about 8, 9, 10 seeds in a pod. I'm counting about 8 here, 8 or 9 seeds in a pod, and they're clearly longitudinally arranged. So very, very different to Suaviolans, and very different foliage as well. It's not prickly at all. The foliage doesn't have any sort of prickly. Maybe if you started scratching your face with it, you'd feel the prickles, but on your hand, it's very nice to run through. So 4 metres tall, that's what they're described as. Yeah, if I saw one taller than 4 metres, that would be a bit unusual. I do know a stand I can think of in Lucas Heights where there's a whole heap of them, and yeah, they're probably hitting 4 to 5 metres would be the max. And the stem, I never see the stem any thicker than about 2 centimetres or so. So they're just they're a genuine shrub. One of those plants that, again, if a fairy wren landed on it, it would put a bit of pressure on it. But nah, they're a little bit tougher than that. But yeah, nice and flexible, like Falcata, like Suaviolans, just a smaller flexible one. This one's got heaps of pods coming on. These pods are very rigid. They're very sort of, they've got a very rigid feel to them. Yeah, almost plastic when I feel them. They're a plasticky texture, plastic sort of leathery texture. And you can just see the little sprays of flowers there. So that's probably enough for Acacia linifolia, just before my phone battery dies. Easy one to identify. Just remember it's got a strong Sydney-centric distribution. I think there's one you can confuse it with called Meantha, possibly, Acacia Meantha, which is, I think, up the Blue Mountains, and it's a slightly different one. You can see these inflorescences developing here. In that stage, we can count the flowers if needed. Beautiful. All right. So that's probably enough for that guy. Growing with Suaviolans as well here, as you can see. So the two growing together. That's pretty common in Burnham here. Linifolia and Suaviolans just constantly intermingled.